I'd like to call the meeting to order. Welcome to the August 15th, 2022 meeting of the Gaston County Board of Commissioners. I was going to make sure we ain't been back. Paying attention. Everybody paying attention. I'm Jeff Ramsey, member at large and chairman of the board. And to my left is Vice Chair Dot Cherry. Mr. Dedman.
Lee Dedman, Gastonia Township.
Justin Davis, South Point Township.
Steve Hall, Dallas Township.
Robbie Lovelace, Cherryville Township.
Dot Guthrie, Gastonia Township.
Kevin Collier, River Bend Township.
Brett Moore, Crowders Mountain Township.
On behalf of the board, we'd like to welcome everyone back to school meeting this afternoon. The teachers and our staff are back in the building waiting for our students to come back on Wednesday. And most of them are having an open house tonight, so we want to have an extra prayer for this storm we're having out here, so hopefully everybody will be safe. I hope everyone had a wonderful and relaxed summer and are ready to begin the new school year. Our first order of business is to have the prayer and pledge of allegiance to the flag. I would like to ask Dr. Booker to lead us in the invocation and pledge.
Thank you. Join me in prayer, please. Father God, we thank you. We are grateful for all who are called to serve in Gaston County Schools. As we begin this year, we lift them up. For our teachers, provide them strength and wisdom to lead in our classrooms. Bless them for their willingness to speak into our future and to be a part of changing the world. For our support personnel, may the roads be smooth for our buses, the supplies plentiful for our cafeterias. May our technicians be provided the tools to meet the needs of our schools. We thank you for our leaders and ask you grant them discernment as they lead our schools. We just thank you for protection as we enter into this year, Lord, and just let it all be in thy will. We ask all this in thy holy name. Amen. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Our next order of business is to adopt the agenda. Do I hear a motion to adopt the agenda? Mr. Moore, second Mr. Hall. Any discussion? All in favor? The agenda is adopted. Our next order of business is to hear the good news happening in our school. Dr. Booker.
Members of the board, we have some great news, and I want to ask 4 individuals to come forward, please. Daryl Gash of Sherwood Elementary, Teresa Brooks of Cramerton Middle, Teresa Fincher of Webb Street School, and Lamar Garden of Highland School of Technology. You come on up, we won't bite, I promise. It is such a pleasure to have these individuals in front of you. Many of you may know about the Tracy Lee Calhoun Award that is given to bus drivers. And this was created in memory of a 17-year-old who lost their life in a bus accident. So each year we recognize an elementary school, middle school, high school, and a Webb Street driver for what they do in serving our schools. And so before you are the 4 winners this year of the Tracy Calhoun Award. And I'll say that these 4 represent some 200 individuals that are committed to helping us have students every day to provide education for. And it's just an honor to have you with us tonight. Mr. Higgins, please.
I'm sorry. Everyone, thank each one of y'all. They're so people. This is roll. Thank you. And they're going to take a picture of y'all. Thank you.
Way to go. Thank you for what you do.
You really want me to? She went to high school.
Oh, my goodness. Bless you. Thank you so much. Thanks.
Oh, you're kidding. And she knows you?
Mr. I wanted to say something, but that's okay. Mr. Chair, may I please?
Yes.
To the drivers, before you leave, I want to say to you, we thank you for your dedication and your commitment for 2 years when we didn't know how our children were going to get to the schools to learn in the classroom. You made a commitment to make sure that our children arrived there safely, and we greatly appreciate that. I saw the bus going down my street yesterday, and I thought about the little song, "The wheels on the bus go round and round." And we want you to know that we celebrate our children in the classroom, but many of them ride the buses to get to the classroom in order to be taught what we expect them to achieve throughout the year. So we greatly appreciate your leadership and the role that you play in getting our children to where they need to be safely, and your commitment to Gaston County Schools' vision and our accomplishments in education. So thank you so very much.
Thank you all. So I'd next like to ask Catherine Eisel to come forward. She is a member of the H.H. Beam Elementary faculty, and she, over the Memorial Day weekend, had the pleasure of being at the happiest place on earth as part of the Disney Imagination Campus 50 Teacher Celebration. Now, are you a big Disney fan?
Now.
So there were over 6,000 applicants for this program that she was selected, remembering one of 50. And so they had to share their own creativity and imagination and how they'd used it in their own classroom. And she wrote about how she created an event for her students inspired by the NFL Combine, where students competed in events such as the broad jump, the vertical jump, and the 40-yard dash. The students then analyzed their data and collected and made graphs and charts to compare the information. So we applaud you for doing this, and I understand when you're at Disney, you got to meet some of the executives in the Imagineer room. So it's neat, and we look forward to you bringing that back. Also, she became a TV star because they filmed a promo for Good Morning America.
Oh, wow.
We need your autograph.
But we wanted to recognize you tonight, Ms. Cherry.
We're so proud of you, and I go to H.H. Beams a lot, and it is a very, very happy place. So if you haven't been there, board members, please go. There's some exciting things, obviously, that are going on there. Did you bring us all back ears?
I wish I would have.
Did you bring the class back some ears?
No, but I brought myself some ears.
Okay. So are you going to wear the ears on Wednesday?
Yes, I'll share it
Okay.
with them.
Well, on behalf of the board and our chair and superintendent, we are giving you this plaque, and we know that you're going to put it up in your classroom, and we're so proud of you and can't wait to see all the extraordinary things you learned down at Disney, and I know you had a great time.
Yes,
So
I did. Thank you
congratulations.
so much.
Is Mr. Smith?
He's not. We had open house.
Oh, that's right, it's open house. So you're stuck with me.
I had to sneak away. Yeah.
You're stuck with me.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Members of the board, this next one is quite a story. So, Mr. Geddes, would you come join us up front, please? And I'm going to put you on the spot. Your first job with Gaston County Schools was?
Teacher assistant.
He started as a teacher assistant and found the love, and he's now a teacher who, during the pandemic, began creating videos. And his family were stars in the videos, if I remember correctly. And I had the pleasure of being called over to Webb Street earlier in the, I guess, the end of school right there. And he thought that there was this big picnic outside just for the end of the year that Mr. Mills was doing another one of his great for them. And all of a sudden, all these people in suits walked out back. And it was all of the car dealers in the Charlotte region for Hyundai. And he had been selected as the hometown hero by Hyundai and WCNC Charlotte. But what was very special about this was it was not a self-nomination, but he was nominated by one of his colleagues for all that he does to make Webb Street an even more special place than it already is. And it's just an honor to have you here so that the whole world could hear the story again about the recognition you received. Well deserved, sir.
Mr. Getty, you'll never know that you're our hometown hero. We are very proud of you. A picture is worth 1,000 words, and you captured those in your videos. And we want you to know that we understand perseverance that you modeled, and we appreciate your determination as well. I am proud at this time to be able to present this to you, a certificate, you're not going to get it just yet, a certificate of recognition to Sean Getty, Outstanding Achievement, Hyundai Hometown Hero, signed Jeffrey Ramsey and Jeffrey Booker. We are so proud of you. I present it to you now.
Thank you very much.
Isn't this a wonderful way, I'm sorry, for our, oh, the cute little girl? Oh, come in. She's in the movie. Come on, little star. How are you? Good. And mom, too.
Mom does not star in the,
Oh,
but she does.
excellent. Well, let's give this little star a round of applause. Excellent. She's starring right now. Excellent. Let's turn around and get a photo together. You want to smile? Okay.
Her dress, let her.
Let go of the dress.
And one more. Thank you.
It was an honor, little star.
Say thank you.
You're
It's
welcome.
nice to meet you too.
Oh, yes.
Congratulations, little star. How does you say I can reach hard?
She was helping Daddy.
I'm glad to meet you.
Members of the board, I will say while we were waiting to go out and surprise him, they said that it was the first time in awarding the award that the selection committee was unanimous. He was that clear a choice. So. That's all our good news for this evening.
Thank you, Dr. Booker, for sharing all the wonderful news with us tonight. Next item on the agenda, allow the opportunity for public expression. Board Clerk, no one signed up, so we'll move forward to the next agenda. Next item on the agenda is approval of correction of minutes, and I need a motion for June the 20th special meeting and June the 20th regular meeting. Mr. Hall makes a motion, second by Ms. Cherry. Any discussion? All in favor? And that's unanimous. The next item on the agenda is a report from the Operation Committee. The chairman is Lee Dedman. The other members are Dot Cherry, Kevin Collier, and Brent Moore. Mr. Dedman?
And Ms. Cherry will present.
All right.
Yes,
Thank
she
you.
will. Okay, our Operations Committee met on Monday, August the 1st at 4 o'clock here in the boardroom, and Chairman Ramsey has indicated who is on the committee. Our agenda and discussion included the following. LS3P, our architectural firm for Greer Middle School, gave us an update on the current progress of construction. I'm very pleased at how that progress is going. Executive Director of Auxiliary Services, Morgan Houchard, provided an update on our summer projects, which will be presented at the board meeting tonight. Angela Calamia, our Director of School Nutrition, informed and updated us on the Titan Oracle integration. Yes, thank you. It's Monday and it's raining, which is our new school nutrition software that will be implemented this school year. Keisha Cohn, our new Executive Director of HR, shared with us the Human Resources team has been actively recruiting at colleges both in person and virtually. They are currently registering for upcoming job fairs for the 22-23 school year. The department is working diligently to process applicants and get them through Oracle for school leadership. Associate Superintendent Gary Hoskins provided details about the biannual salary increases approved by the General Assembly and the Governor. He explained that the initial 2.5% raise was increased to 4% by the state. Classified employees will receive the greater of $15 per hour or the 4% raise. Teachers and instructional support will receive 4.8 to 7.2 total increase based on employee steps. We received an update on the school business modernization project, which the Finance Department and HR Department continues to work on with and for all employees. The committee also reviewed and is recommending approval on the consent agenda tonight the following contracts. Gaggle and Lightspeed Safety Solutions, GCSTECH 22-23 microcomputers and peripheral RFP. Volk, and Aaron, if I'm pronouncing them wrong, please tell me, contracts. Wayne contracts, cellular telephone contracts, Floyd Foster Transport 2122 contract amendment. Now, Morgan, I'm not sure if I'm going to pronounce this one right either. Context Mobility 2122 contract amendment, transportation contract, Connex Mobility, which I'm sure I'm abusing, so I apologize to that company. Transportation contract, American Alternative Transportation, transportation contract, Floyd Foster Transportation, transportation contract, Carolina Specialty Transport, LED lighting replacement at Warwick Academy, and landscaping contract for Cherryville School, excuse me. Our next meeting is Monday, September the 12th at 4 p.m. in the boardroom, and that's my abused report. I apologize to the public.
Thank you for that report, Ms. Cherry.
Could you repeat those companies?
No, I will not. You can repeat them. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
All right, next item on the agenda is our report from Curriculum and Instruction Committee. Ms. Dot Guthrie is the chair of that committee, and the other members that are Justin Davis, Steve Hall, and Robbie Lovelace. Ms. Guthrie.
Mr. Chair, Mrs. Lovelace will present our report.
All right, thank you.
The Curriculum and Instruction Committee met on August 1st, 2022. Members present were Dot Guthrie, Steve Hall, Justin Davis, Robbie Lovelace, Jeff Ramsey, and Dot Cherry. The meeting was called to order at 12:00 p.m. Shannon Hullett presented an update on the state-mandated letters, which stands for Language Essentials for Teachers of Reading and Science, training for teachers and administrators. The research-based training will impact students in grades K through 12. Kickoff sessions began on July 18, 2022. Jill Payne updated the Committee on Mental Health Services and School Support for the 2022-23 school year. Support agencies have agreed to work with all families regardless of insurance or ability to pay. The agencies will continue providing de-escalation strategies and professional development for staff in communication with families. 2 of the district's mental health clinicians have been relocated to schools to support staff, students, and families. Aaron Slusky shared information about the Gaggle Alerts pilot opportunity. Gaggle is a software program that manages student safety on school-provided technology. Chris Bennett presented information on middle school math guidelines. Due to the multiple levels of middle school math, administrators are using end-of-grade, EOG, math, and iReady end-of-year test data to place students. Proper placement will set the foundation for future success with high-stakes assessments and fulfilling graduation requirements. Christy Bostic presented an exam exemption proposal to improve student achievement. Attendance. She will gather more feedback from principals and make the suggested adjustments. This item will be on the Board of Education agenda as a procedure for information. The committee approved meeting dates for the 2022-23 school year. The next meeting will be on September 12th, 2022 at noon. The meeting adjourned at 1:25 p.m.
Thank you for that report, Ms. Lovelace. The next item on the agenda is our back-to-school update, and Todd Hagan's going to present.
Good evening, Chairman Ramsey, Vice Chairman Cherry, members of the board, and Superintendent Booker. It is a pleasure to present our back-to-school update for the 2022-23 academic year. As we all know, it is back-to-school time in Gaston County, and Wednesday, August the 17th, is our first day of school. We expect to welcome approximately 30,000 students in pre-kindergarten through high school. That includes more than 1,900 kindergarten students who are beginning their K-12 educational journey with us. At this time, I would like to share 5 back-to-school highlights with you. As I mentioned, the first day of school for students is this Wednesday, August the 17th. In March, the Board of Education adopted the school calendar with an earlier start date to allow students to complete mid-year exams prior to winter break. The board's decision is in response to a school calendar survey that indicates approximately 70% of respondents favor a school calendar with the first semester ending in December and the second semester beginning in January. Additionally, an earlier start date is necessary to have a similar number of days in the semesters. Schools will follow the start and end times that were in place last year. Elementary schools will operate from 7:30 a.m. until 2:30 p.m. Middle schools and high schools will operate from 8:30 a.m. until 3:30 p.m. Parents should check with their child's school for the exact schedule, as the start and end times for some schools may vary. The start and end times coincide with the 2-tier model used for bus transportation. The 2-tier model makes it possible for bus drivers to complete 2 routes in the morning and in the afternoon. The process is intended to get students to school and back home in a timely manner and ensure that there are enough bus drivers. Parents will receive information from their child's school about bus routes, pickup and drop-off times, and bus rules and expectations. If a parent has a question or concern about bus transportation, the parent is encouraged to contact the school office and/or the principal. Motorists are reminded about the possibility of heavy traffic near schools in the early morning and mid-afternoon hours. It is important for motorists to decrease speed in school zones, watch for pedestrians, and use caution when they see a school bus. Whenever a school bus is stopped with the stop sign extended and red lights flashing to pick up or drop off students, motorists must stop for the bus. It is unlawful to pass a stopped school bus. On June 24th, the North Carolina Department of Public Instruction sunset the Strong Schools NC Public Health Toolkit, which provided COVID-19 guidance for public schools. Now, schools are advised to reference the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention's operational guidance for K-12 schools for information about how to lower the risk of COVID-19 in school settings. In Gaston County, schools continue to mitigate the risk of COVID-19 while striving to operate normally. Schools will emphasize the importance of frequent hand washing or use of hand sanitizer, regular cleaning, especially in classrooms and common areas, and continued use of air purification units. The wearing of a mask is optional. However, schools will have masks available for anyone wanting to wear one. If a student or employee is sick, exhibiting symptoms of fever, vomiting, and/or upset stomach, the person is advised to stay at home and consult a healthcare professional. Traditionally, a student or employee who is sick may return to school or work 24 hours after he or she no longer exhibits symptoms of fever, vomiting, and/or upset stomach. If a person tests positive or shows symptoms related to COVID-19, it is recommended that the person isolate at home for 5 days. The person may return to school or work after 5 days and is advised to wear a mask for 5 days once returning to school or work. Anytime a student is away from school because of illness, the parent should send a note to the school so the absence can be recorded as excused. Providing a safe learning environment for students and employees remains a priority for Gaston County Schools. The school district is proud of its strong partnership with the Gaston County Police Department, the Gaston County Sheriff's Office, and city law enforcement agencies. Local law enforcement has made a commitment to do everything possible to ensure that schools are secure and personnel are prepared should any type of emergency situation occur. Each school follows its comprehensive safety plan. As part of the plan, schools conduct evacuation, lockdown, fire, and tornado severe weather exercises periodically. All schools are assigned a police resource officer, which provides a direct link between the school and law enforcement. School will continue the practice of random metal detection screenings for students and staff. Additionally, metal detection screenings and bag checks will be in place for athletic events and extracurricular activities such as high school football games. Spectators are discouraged from bringing bags to events, and it is important to remind the public that no weapons of any kind, including pocket knives, are allowed on school campuses, and the use of tobacco and vape products is prohibited. Because of the COVID-19 pandemic, the federal government made breakfast and lunch meals available free of charge for all students during the past 2 years. The free meals ended June 30th, and Congress did not renew the program. Therefore, meal prices are in effect this year. Breakfast is $1.40 for students at all grade levels and $2 for adults. Lunch is $2.90 for students in grades K through 5 and $3 for students in grades 6 through 12. The price for adults is $4. There is no charge for students who qualify for free or reduced price meals. The 40 cents charge for reduced price meals has been waived. More information about school nutrition, including how parents can apply for free or reduced price meals for their child, that information is available on the Gaston County Schools website. While I have shared just 5 back-to-school highlights with you, we encourage you to visit our website for more back-to-school news and information. There is additional information in our news article that is located on the homepage, including information about our continuous focus on academics and learning. One example of this is the various enrichment and camp programs that took place this summer and the professional development opportunities offered for our teachers and other employees. We encourage everyone to stay connected with Gaston County Schools this year by visiting our district and school websites, downloading our mobile app, watching Channel 21, and keeping up with us on social media. Also, parents are reminded to make sure that their child's school has up-to-date contact information, including home address, telephone number, and email address on file. Parents should contact the school office to provide updates. And if a parent has a question or concern, they are encouraged to contact their child's teacher or the school principal to discuss the issue or schedule a meeting. So a brand-new school year is here, and we are looking forward to it with enthusiasm and optimism. It is our hope that the new year is filled with lots of achievements and gives us plenty of reasons to celebrate. And Mr. Chairman, that completes our back-to-school update for the Board of Education.
Thank you, Mr. Hagens. Yes, Ms. Guthrie.
I heard Todd say that on the calendar, on the website, you would have reports from the summer enrichment or camp activities. I don't know how much of the Aspire program is on the website, but I do want to compliment Dr. Leanne Conyers and Ms. Kaylin Reynolds for the summer enrichment camp that they participated in, because they brought those children to the museum on a weekly basis, and they did an outstanding job. Those children were well behaved, and they were attentive, and they participated in the various activities. So I would like to congratulate Dr. Conyers and Ms. Reynolds for their summer enrichment program during our vacation months.
Well, thank you for sharing that. All right, next item on the agenda is a COVID-19 update, and Dr. Jill Payne.
Good evening, Chairman Ramsey, Vice Chair Cherry, Superintendent Booker, and members of the board. Tonight, I would like to share with you our COVID-19 updates for the 22-23 school year. Looking back over the past 29 months, seems like a long time, doesn't it? We have navigated through the COVID pandemic in partnership with DHHS, using the recommendations from the CDC, striving to provide the best learning environment for our students and staff. Think back to March of 2020, when Governor Cooper declared a state of emergency in North Carolina due to the outbreak of COVID-19. Many things happened along this journey. That June, DHHS provided us with a Strong Schools Toolkit, which provided guidance for how we would reopen schools. We want to thank you for your support, as we have refined protocol to continue to mitigate risk to try to provide the best environment for our students, but also for allowing us and approving us to open a testing center so that we could keep our teachers and our students in school. Fast forward to this past June, DHHS ended the guidance from the Strong Schools Toolkit, so that is no longer guidance that we will be utilizing. We will be referring to the recommendations of the CDC, and the final announcement from Governor Cooper was that the state of emergency will sunset effective today. Our CDC will provide recommendations for the operation of guidance in schools in mitigating the risk of COVID-19. Those recommendations, as you heard Mr. Hagens say just a second ago, is that our students and staff who are symptomatic or who test positive isolate for 5 days and then mask for the additional 5 days. In Gaston County, we will continue to mitigate risk of COVID-19 as well as many other sicknesses this year as we open, operating as close to pre-pandemic as possible. We will continue to provide good hand washing and personal hygiene. We will continue to use the advancement of our cleaning procedures in our classrooms and our common areas. We will continue to use our air purification systems, as well as masking will be optional for our students and staff, and we will have masks available for those students or staff who need them. As of today, in light of the recent trends and recommendations, our schools will operate as similar to pre-pandemic times. We will follow our traditional sick policy. If a student is out sick, they will be advised to stay home and encouraged to consult their health professional if needed. Students following that sick policy, must be symptom-free for 24 hours prior to returning to school. Families will be provided the recommendation from the CDC of the 5 days isolation and 5 days mask, but they must follow our sick policy. All students who are absent due to illness, I was a little bit off, sorry. All students who are absent due to illness will be marked absent, and parents will, just like pre-pandemic, need to send in a note or an email, and this is in addition to if they make a phone call, they'll need to send something in writing to get that note or to get that absence excused with the dates of the illness. And finally, we will continue to operate our testing center at Garrison Boulevard to benefit our students and their families as well as our staff. It will be open Monday through Friday from 8 to 5 for any of our Gaston County Schools students and staff, and there will be no charge for testing. We would like to just thank you again for your support as we have navigated through the pandemic and worked to open our schools back up for our students and our families. Thank you.
You have any questions? No. Thank you, Dr. Payne. The next item on our agenda is exam exemption procedure. This is an information item, and Dr. Christy Bostic.
Good evening, Chairman Ramsey, Vice Chair Cherry, members of the board, Superintendent Booker. Tonight I'm excited to be here to share an exam exemption procedure with all of you. As you know, COVID-19, the pandemic, has been harsh on our attendance numbers, as well as our academic performance of our high school students. And so this would be one effort that we would do to try to bring back and improve those attendance numbers, and as well as our academic performance. We feel that bringing this back would bring a renewed sense to the importance and the value of being in school every single day in all of our courses, and allowing our teachers to really have the opportunity to teach our students. So what would this look like? The criteria for our exam exemption procedure would only impact teacher-made exams. We are fortunate at this point that we have gone back to having more teacher-made exams than we had in the past. If you all recall, we have had a procedure in place before, but I think it came to a point to where, because there were so many state-required final exams, NC finals, EOCs, things like that, it became kind of negated because we didn't have as many teacher-made exams as we had at one point. And so now that we're back to a decrease in those state-required exams, this is a great opportunity for us to look at the possibility of students earning their way to being exempt from their teacher-made exams. And so the criteria would include that if a student had an A average at the end of the semester in a course and had 4 or fewer absences, they would have the option to be exempted from that teacher-made exam. And if they had a B average in the course or have 3 or fewer exams, they would also have that opportunity. Any grade C or below would require the student to take that teacher-made exam. Some additional information would include that excused or unexcused absences are a part of this process. They're both included the exact same, and so it's a straight, if a student misses more than 4 days, but they have an A average, they would still need to take that exam. Not getting into reasons why students missed and things like that, because the goal is to really make sure that students are in class as much as possible. Also, if the student meets the qualifications but wishes to take the teacher-made exam, it can only help them. It cannot harm them at that point. So they will still have the option if they have a B maybe and they want to try for an A, the exam grade will only help them at that point and not hurt them. As part of going back to the absences, there would be several things that would be followed on our other board policies around absences. For example, out-of-school suspension does count as an absence, and therefore it would count as an absence as part of this process. So if a student is suspended from school, that would count toward this. We would also need to make sure and continue to reiterate with students that if they miss more than 15 minutes of a class, whether that's the first 15 minutes or the last 15 minutes, that also counts as an absence. And that, again, is part of our board policy as to where it goes from a tardy to an absence. School-related activities that are not considered absences as part of our board policy 3480 would not count as this. Those are things like field trips, things where teachers are taking students, sporting events, all of those things are considered school-related activities. And part of this would also include 2 college visits per year for students that are pre-approved by the principal. And we've given some principals some information on how they would consider those and code those in PowerSchool. In addition, students may not be exempted from certain required state exams. And so again, we're talking about just teacher-made exams. Anything that is a state end-of-course test required, students would have to take. Anything that is a required CTE, we have the things that they are required to do in order to earn their credentials and things like that. All of those things would continue to be required. Anything that is College Now, Career and College Promise through Gaston College, those exams would again be required. That's not anything we impact. Students that are taking courses through the North Carolina Virtual Public School would also be required to take their exams as assigned. And AP. There are teacher-made exams that our teachers give, that are AP teachers. Those exams could have the option to be exempted if the students meet the requirements, but AP required exams by College Board in order to earn that college credit, those are things we would not be able to exempt. So that would be the difference between those. And that is the end of my presentation.
Any questions, comments? Thank you, Dr. Boston.
Thank you very much.
Okay, next item on the agenda is our summer projects update, and this is the information item, Dr. Morgan Hushar.
Good evening, Chairman Ramsey, Vice Chairman Cherry, Board of Education members, Dr. Booker. It's good to be here this evening. Thank you for allowing me a few minutes to share some of the wonderful things we've done over the summer to get our school ready for our kids. It's been our team auxiliary service team. As you know, is our safety security, transportation, school nutrition, facilities and maintenance, and then our project managers. You know, we never rest here with safety. It doesn't just happen. It takes hard work and dedication, and that's a year-round process. So over this summer, our safety and security team have been working on school safety trainings. We've conducted dozens of those in our schools. We've been looking and working on not only school procedures, but district-wide procedures to tighten those, to make sure they are the best they can be. We're also working with local law enforcement for support with that. Michael Nance has been working hard on a state risk management plan that has had to been submitted to DPI, Raleigh, as well as school walkthroughs. We've done dozens of school walkthroughs, not just with new principals to buildings, but with all principals, specifically those who have asked and have requested it. So our transportation, you know, we have over 350 vehicles with yellow, white buses, fleet vehicles. Our transportation department is working closely with HR and our principals for driver recruitment. As you know, we have a few vacancies in that department, and we'd like to try to get those filled. Driver training, you know, is a 3-day course with a week-long driving session after that, so it's about an 8-day process. We've had 2 sessions this summer with 20 to 25 drivers in each one of those, and we assist with those as best we can. Like I said, I mentioned over 350 vehicles had been maintained and inspected. And then something kind of new to our business that's growing is what's called special transportation, with all those transportation contracts that you heard Ms. Cherry recite in our overview, working on routes for that to assist with those students and their needs. School nutrition also has worked all summer with employee recruitment. Also meal and menu preparation. In this time of, I'm going to call it post-COVID, we still have supply line issues. We're still having trouble getting things like chicken and potatoes at times. Angela and her team have done a wonderful job creating those meals and menus with good quality food that we know we can prepare for our students. And she has assured me supply lines might be hard right now, but she has us covered. So we're happy about that. They've done safety and nutritional training in our cafeterias, as well as food safety. The Grab and Go program, which is a very popular program with a lot of our principals and students for breakfast, that just doesn't happen. It takes a lot of effort with Aaron and his team. So we've worked through that to try to give that to all and any schools that have requested that. As you know, the National School Lunch is back on now that I guess we're post-COVID, which means a free and reduced lunch program must kick back up like we ran before COVID hit, so that takes a lot of work and effort. And now they're also working with a new software in Oracle called Titan, which we're trying to roll out training and awareness for that, and that has taken some time this summer to train our cafeteria managers so they can train their folks. And you know, when you manage 5.5 million square feet, you have yearly jobs you must do, such as carpet cleaning, gym floor screenings, where they take the gym floors down and make them look nice and presentable. Each school has a grease trap that needs to be pumped. Some have lift stations. And then safety and maintenance. Maintenance also does safety yearly audits as well, not just on the safety and security side. You know, we have awesome people that work on the auxiliary service team, and it takes their effort. They have not rested. I will assure you, they are ready on Wednesday to drive buses 12,000 miles one day. I can assure you we're ready to serve over 20,000 meals to our kids when they come back, and we're excited about it. And our schools are ready to receive students. I would like to mention a few other specific projects that we've been working on over the summer, and if we didn't complete the last one today, it will be complete tomorrow, and that's our Hunter House parking lot pavement. I just saw them painting the lines earlier this afternoon when I went out there. We were fortunate to get 3 paving and bus lots paved, parking and bus lots paved, Catawba Heights, Gardner Park, and Hunter Huss. Really does something for the front of those schools as you see them. So if you haven't, maybe get a chance, get to look at those new paving projects. Life safety, we've been able to finish up Carr and New Hope Elementary. And when we say life safety, we mean access control, which is the buzzers to get folks in, as well as doors and locks, cameras, fire alarms, and intercom. So that's a pretty extensive list of life safety equipment we're replacing. Did a lot of flooring, and we're trying to get rid of as much carpet as we can in our classrooms. We have several schools that they were wall-to-wall carpet. So as it ages out and it's time to turn, we try to, and I've got some pictures here we share with you. We try to replace that carpet that has seen a lot of years of students on it and a lot of collection of things. We try to make classrooms go from that to the shiny floors, right? And the newer carpet if the classroom requires that carpet, and then the entrance mats. This is what we want folks to see when they walk into our schools, and that's what they're going to see. As you know, many of the elementary schools had carpeted gymnasiums, so they had the ball goals in there, and then it was carpet. We're trying to get rid of all that carpet and replace with, this is Robinson with a gym floor, and I showed that to Dr. Booker the other day, and he said, that looks like a high school gym, it looks good. That's what all around elementary school gyms will look like very soon as we work through that. In Cramerton Middle, if you spent time at Cramerton, there was a lot of carpet there, a lot of classrooms are carpet, so we're trying to put the VCT down, get a good shiny finish on that, as well as replace carpet in offices and areas that may need it for student learning. So roofing, we do a lot of work on our roofs, and we don't get any, no one sees that work for the most part. So we spent a lot of time, energy, and effort there, and we were able to we finished several projects, as you all know. We were able to start contracting for Cramerton Middle School, as well as put in design and start to develop scope on 6 other schools I've listed for you there. And, a roof is a 12, 13, 14-month process when you talk about design, scope, bid, and then do the work. It can be longer sometimes. Inexpensive, as you know, but we're very proud that we've got a cycle now we're trying to work through, and we identify roofs based on work orders, need, and age. LED lighting, whoa, we get a lot of bang for our buck with that LED lighting. If you talk to a principal and you ask them what's one of the things that's changed your school, they're going to all say, I guarantee you, LED lighting. It makes schools brighter, it makes them more inviting, and you can see a few pictures there I've included on Highland and Cherryville High School there. We also were able to finish Webb Street in the midst of North Gaston, and then, as you will approve tonight, Warwick Academy. And again, that is a process where we have tried to work through our high schools, middle schools, and elementary schools, and we've made a big dent in the LED needs. We also helped with a Highland School of Technology science classroom, which was a grant where we took the 1970 science tables, removed those, and gave Mr. Montgomery and that health science a space to bring in movable tables and workable space. Another sight unseen issue we deal with a lot that's very expensive is drainage, and as you know, we've kept you up to date with the Forest View High School drainage repair. We are finished with that, working through a few punch items. We will begin Ida Rankin Elementary, Ashbrook High School, and then North Gaston will be last on our list for drainage repairs. Very happy that we were able to help our schools, all of our schools, with their athletic fields needs. And if you remember at the retreat, I presented a 3-year process of how we're going to do that, basically touching every school every year. Some schools will get more than others this year, and that will reverse next year. So this year we were able to sand and top dress, which means take our fields and put a good coat of sand on them, level them up, get rid of any holes, let the grass, Bermuda, grow through, and then fertilize and maintain. So we were able to do that at 4 of our high schools. Our softball field at South Point High, and then the practice field at Stuart Kramer. And then we did a little bit more work, what we're calling renovations, on some of our other facilities, and that's the softball field at Bessemer City, Forest View High and North Gaston High, and then East Gaston, the football. Let me take that back. That's East Gaston Stadium. I have the slide, but the name on the second slide. We actually had to take that surface down, recrown that, and bring sod in and resod that field. So we have a facility there we can be proud of. And then interior drainage, as I mentioned earlier, we've had to do some smaller work to get to the bigger work at Hunter House, Forest View, and North Gaston. And we were able to touch all of our middle schools as well with their fields. And this was a sand and top dress as well, so that there's a lot of play in those fields, and years of play and wear and tear with both PE and athletics enabled us to give us an opportunity to improve those fields. And last but not least, we did have to move some mobile classrooms. We took a few from East Gaston and had to move them. The Carr and WA Best, our numbers, our teacher allotments are growing. So the principals at those schools have been very patient with us. The process has changed, and we're very pleased with that. And those should be two, they are set up at Carr and will be set up very shortly at WA Best. So our folks were very busy this summer. I continue to thank them and wanted to highlight some of the work that they have done for us, and excited about the school year and ready to get started. Mr. Chairman?
All right, any comments, questions for Dr. Hishar?
Dr. Hishard, I've got just a couple of, if you would go back to the bus drivers in the cafeteria, just so our public would know, and let them know how many we're going to have on the road. I know you told me about buses, but actual drivers and cafeteria workers, because I want them to realize that we're not at full force, and so that they can understand that we're working diligently to get to full force, but let them know what we're dealing with, if you would.
Yes, ma'am. So we have almost 400 employees, cafeteria employees, that work at the schools, and last I checked, we were shy 62 positions. I do know that Angela's been recruiting. I know she has some in the pipeline. I think we're pushing 18, so that number will probably take us down to about 45 out of 400 employees. And for school school transportation, driving buses, we have about 195 drivers. And currently, and that number changes day to day because we hire one and someone may leave us, but we were in the high teens, 19 or 20 is what the positions we had open as of this morning. Mm-hmm.
Yes, Ms. Catherine.
I just want to say to you, Dr. Hishard, that Angela did an awesome job with the summer program, summer feeding, and we know that it's difficult for her to move from summer feeding right into a regular school year, but we appreciate her dedication and that of her staff during the summer. We would see the big white truck moving food during the summer for the summer locations. And finally, you showed a lot of what you've done physically with schools. And I went into Webb Street for their graduation, and certainly the physical facility has an awful lot to do with the excitement that, children are generated by that. So thank you so much for making those classrooms and other areas of the school warm and inviting for our children. Again, I say, we look at the things that are happening in our classroom, but it takes that whole team working together to contribute to make the whole program successful. And we appreciate what you're doing.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Catherine.
Thank you.
Dr. Short. Next item on the agenda is official depository designation. Gary Hoskin. Gary will have the next three part of the agenda. This is an action item.
Thank you, Chairman Ramsey, Vice Chair Cherry, members of the board, Superintendent Booker. I'm here to present the annual approval of official depositories for Gaston County schools, and that would include banks, savings and loans, credit unions, or other financial institutions that our schools or our district deal with. And I've attached a list of those depository institutions to the board agenda. Those institutions include Bank OZK, Truist Bank, First Horizon, Fidelity Bank, PNC, South State Bank, North Carolina Management Trust, and also our district has accounts with the state, with their core banking account, and the STIF account or short-term investment fund account. We ask your approval of these financial institutions for our district and our schools.
I need a motion on that. Mr. Hall, Mr. Devon, second. Any discussion? All in favor? That's unanimous.
One question.
Yes, go ahead.
No, sir.
Unusual, there's a bigger footprint there.
Yeah. Okay, Gary, we'll just let you
Sure.
step into appointment of the school treasurer.
Second item I have is also each year, state law requires that this board approve the appointment of school treasurers. We actually call these financial secretaries. So each of our 56 schools is listed, attached, their list is attached to this board agenda. Of the 56 schools, we do have 3 vacancies at the time that this was printed. And of course, this will change throughout the year, but we'll bring you a fresh list for approval next year. So we ask that you approve this list of our school treasurers or financial secretaries.
Mr. Devon, second by Mr. Hall. Any discussion? All in favor? That's unanimous. And the last one is adoption of the 2022-23 Gaston County Budget Resolution. This is an action item. Gary.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Chair. So since this board met last, the governor has signed the budget, the state budget for the 2022-2023 fiscal year. So on July 11th of this year, last month, this was passed. It was House Bill 103. This was the second year of the biennial budget, which was initially approved back in November of last year. And typically, there's not a lot of changes made, in that second year of the biennial budget. But if you think about what's happened since November of last year, we've had a lot of, inflationary pressures with our food cost, our fuel cost. We've had some school crisis issues in other states that our state has stepped up. So they made some changes to what was the second year of this biennial agreement. And a lot of them are positive changes. So the first one is they adjusted the initial salary increases. When they made that first biennial budget, the salary increases were going to be 2.5% for our employees. So when they made this change on July 11th, they actually increased that to 4%. So our classified employees, which are our hourly employees, last year they moved up to $13 an hour or 2.5%. This year they're going to go to $15 an hour, which didn't change, or 4%, and that's a little bit different than what the initial budget was. Also, teachers and instructional support get their experience step. So if a teacher had 6 years of experience, the General Assembly has to actually move them from 6 years of experience to 7 years of experience, or move up one experience step. That doesn't happen automatically. They did make that move. And the teacher salary increases will range from 2.5% to 4.2%, depending on where they are on the teacher scale. You know that at about 15 years, it plateaus for about 10 years. And if you include the teacher step, those increases will range from 4.8% to 7.2%. Also, principals, they're paid based on their student count and their student growth, but their salaries will increase 4%. Again, it was 2.5% initially. Assistant principals remain at 19% of the teacher scale, so they move up the same rate of pay as our teachers do, which is the 4.8% to 7.2%, including the step. Our central office employees, again, increase from 2.5% to 4%. Psychologists, school counselors, they both received a $350 and $100 supplement, respectively. That was put in their salary schedule. That will remain for this year. They're adding back some bonuses, which had originally gone away as a result of the pandemic. These bonuses are performance bonuses for teachers for our 4th through 8th grade math and 3rd through 5th grade reading. That's based on the 2021-2022 results. Also, performance results or performance bonus for our AP and CTE based on 21-22 results, and also principal bonuses will be coming back. Other salary and personnel, our retirement contribution continues to go up. It's up to 24.5% now for every employee. When you monetize that, our budget for this year is about $43 million for just our contribution to retirement. That is up $3 million over what it was last year. And for health insurance, it's about $23.4 million, which is up about $1.4 million from last year. So both of those continue to climb, fairly quickly and do have a negative impact on our financials. Also, as I mentioned, there's been some school safety issues around the country that have happened since the initial approval of this budget back in November. So they are providing us with some extra funds for SROs and security of schools and so forth, and also to help us with the increase in the fuel cost. So with that, since the state budget has been approved, we are presenting you with the annual budget. Each of you should have a copy of this annual budget at your seat. We will make this available online after the board meeting. So the annual budget includes introductory statement. It has some explanations as to what all the account codes mean. These codes come from DPI, and the definitions come from DPI, and that's how they ask us to include this information. So one important thing is each of our primary funds has two different sections. One is expenses for that particular fund, and the other is the revenue from that particular fund. And the expenses and the revenue of each fund have to balance. And so each of these funds has two sections. So you have state, local, federal, capital, child nutrition, other revenue. And the other directions and limitations, that essentially directs us to use restricted funds first and unrestricted funds last. And it also authorizes us to appropriate any unused funds from last year into this year, which we call carryover. So that would be the other directions and limitations. So some of the changes in the budget, again, it's not a lot of changes, but if you'll recall, the county did give us an extra $1 million of operating funds for this year, and also an additional $1 million of capital for this year. So that's included in this budget. Also, as I mentioned already, the increases in the employer contributions for retirement and for health insurance. And again, we are not budgeting any use of fund balance in this budget. So looking at the summary, last year we approved this budget resolution in December. So you're halfway through the year when we approved this budget resolution. And that's why these numbers are going to look a little bit off, because typically the federal funds are allotted around October. So last year's budget included a lot of the federal funds that we know are coming. We just don't know the exact amount, but it was included in the budget resolution for last year. It's not included this year. So that's why you see some differences there. But first of all, you can see the state. We got a 5% increase in our initial allotment from the state, which makes sense because they're bumping up salaries by 4%, and then we're getting a little bit more money in some other areas. The county appropriation, you can see that's the $1 million just mentioned. Fines, forfeitures, and interest, that's an estimate that we do every year, about $750,000. The federal grants, that's the one that decreased the most. In addition, you'll recall we got our ESSER funds a few years ago. We're drawing those funds down as we get closer to the expiration of those funds. So you will naturally see that number go down, just as you do with capital. When the county gives us $60 million of capital bonds, you start seeing, after you post that $60 million, you start seeing that number come down over time until a new bond issue is granted. Other special revenue, again, those are things like Medicaid that we don't know at this point in time. That will come probably later in this year. Capital, again, I mentioned capital goes down over time as we do capital projects until we get another capital offering. and then child nutrition is fairly flat. So when you look at this, obviously our big three, as we taught, the state, federal, and county, that's about 85 or 90% of the funds that we get, and you can see where those come from. And you can see our COVID funds, $72 million. That was around $101 million last year. So we've been using those funds because those will expire in a couple years. Again, with the expenses, most of the federal funds that will be coming will be going towards instructional services. And so that's why you see that number coming down, because it was already in last year's number. It hasn't yet come in this year's number. You'll see those coming through your budget amendments and transfers that we give to you every month. And you can see that by the chart, obviously instructional services is 2/3 of the money that we spent or we budget to spend for next year. So some factors, this budget is based on what we believe, to be true at this time. Obviously, there are things that can impact the budget. Some unforeseen changes in the laws or regulations. COVID funding, if they change the rules on that, or if there's another pandemic that occurs that causes issues. Certainly supply chain, we've got, there's some things we want to do, and we were told that there's a 1-year lag time to be able to do some things. So that will impact our ability to spend money the way that we want to do so. Inflation has hit record highs and has caused a lot of issues, and we're hoping that will taper off a little bit, but we don't know. And then student population trends. We talk about, the state funds, which you saw were 55% of our funding, is almost solely based on how many students you have. And so if those numbers don't come in like we expect, that will affect our funding because they will make adjustments. And then some of the internal factors, compensation, trying to keep our employees, the technology that we have, and trying to be more efficient. Expanded school choice options, remote learning, and then school facility needs. So with that, Mr. Chairman, I'll be happy to answer any questions, but we do ask for board approval of this 2022-2023 budget resolution.
Okay, thank you, Gary. Any questions, comments? So this is an action item.
Make a motion that we accept the budget that Mr. Hoskins presented.
Mr. Moore, second. Any discussion? All in favor? That's unanimous. Thank you, Gary.
Thank you.
This leads us to a consent agenda. There are several items on the consent agenda tonight. Please take a look at those items, and then we need a motion to approve this. Ms. Cherry's made a motion, second by Mr. Dedman. Any other discussion? All in favor? That's unanimous. This brings us to the time of our meeting to hear from our superintendent, Dr. Booker.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the board. While we're all anxiously awaiting the start of school on Wednesday, we actually began school last Tuesday. Both of our early colleges, their calendar is set by Gaston College's calendar, and so they began classes last Tuesday. And I will say that one of the schools had the challenge that I will promise you we will have on this Wednesday: air conditioning not working in every classroom. That is a common thing. You can have it all working the day before and then something doesn't. But what I really respected was Gaston College's response to it. We had to move some classrooms around, but they really worked with us to support the schools. But it was exciting to have those schools back in session, and a great precursor to this Wednesday. One of the great traditions in Gaston County is our convocation. We get everybody together and we celebrate and really kick off the school year. But this year, we didn't feel that with all the changes and things that were going on, that it was a good use to bring everybody and let them spend a half a day in that thing. So we did a hybrid format of our convocation, encouraged our schools to have some kind of meeting at their school and participate. And so the first half of the convocation was a pre-recorded, and I really thank our former Principal of the Year, Teacher of the Year, and the current of both of those who participated. And then there were a lot of folks that were willing to be put on the spot and do the CAM impromptu interviews. And all that was recorded to try and give some thought to the school year. And then we did a live portion where I tried to talk about we really need to focus on celebrating each of our wins and not just waiting for the culminating wins. And I really feel that our school system does a great job of meeting our community and providing a service to our community, and we just need to celebrate what we do. So I wanted to thank Mr. Hagens and his department. A lot of planning went into that. Those interviews and prep started weeks ago, and so I appreciate them for the vision and hard work they had to get that to do. You can still see the entire video is on our website now, and it's also going to air on Channel 21 sometimes. As was discussed earlier in the meeting, we have some vacancies, and those vacancies will impact our school operations, our bus transportation, our school nutrition. But what I know is everyone has been working diligently. I was Saturday, there was people at our HR department helping process and get folks who had accepted job offers into the system so that they could be there. I know that Dr. Balknight and her team have already begun working. I know one of the great emails I got last week was from Dr. Bennett saying all core courses are covered in the middle school. That means there are people working, some doing plug-ins, doing cover, but it means we have a teacher for everyone. It was exciting to see some of the pictures of our faculty there, and I want to thank the folks who are doing those extra duties so that we can meet the demand. And we will continue recruiting and hiring, but you read it in the headlines every day. It is difficult to find the different workers, and we're all chasing the same folks. So I want to thank those people who have been working on that. You've heard some of the names already, but Paul Williams and Angela Calamia in our transportation and school nutrition, Dr. Huchard leading all that, and a number of our teachers and coaches have pitched in to drive buses and help us with that, and we appreciate all that they have done. Ms. Guthrie highlighted what's going on with school nutrition this summer. They do not miss a beat in providing and meeting needs in that, so I really thank her, Angela and her staff, for all that. I just want to say all this so that our community knows we are aware some of our bus routes may be longer because of staffing. We're aware that we're having to meet some of these, but we're doing and advertising and recruiting as best we can. Mr. Hoskins gave you some pretty big numbers, and if you add it up, it's over almost $6 million of additional employee expense that came through, and no budget was adjusted for that expense, and a lot of that comes back on us with local employees, and we have to meet that. But none of that impacts us from hiring people. We are still pursuing and trying to hire folks, and I was with a group of retirees this morning and encouraged all of them that they could come and help us with classroom or drive a bus. We would welcome them to do all that. So I just thank our community, and we'll advance, say patience and grace. Always opening school up, we're going to have a route that runs different than we thought. There's going to be some construction that appeared that wasn't there the week they planned the route, but no, it's not for lack of people really working hard and doing that. So I appreciate all that goes into that. And with that, I really want to thank our employees. Letters training, that's a huge thing that has been thrust on our elementary schools. I appreciate all that is going on with that and the added effort that our elementary employees are doing. But that's just one example of all the work that's gone to get ready and the long hours that people have put in. If you were around our schools this weekend, you saw cars all over the place. Ms. Lovelace sent some great pictures of a church in her community that was having a great back-to-school bash and supporting. All that's what makes our school system special, and I really appreciate what that's about. You heard me in the opening prayer talking about the employees, and they're dedicated and they care about children, and that's why they're here, and I just think we're very fortunate to have all of those folks here, and I look forward to this year being one that we can truly celebrate, and we're going to do our best to bring you celebrations every month. So with that, sir, I would like to ask that we have a closed session for a number of items.
Okay, before we get to that, I just want to, on behalf of the board, thank Dr. Booger and his leadership and his staff and cabinet and the teachers, cafeteria workers, bus driver, everyone, to make a successful school year starting on Wednesday. And I think Ms. Lovelace has a comment. Go ahead.
Yes, Dr. Booker, several teachers reached out to me and wanted me to convey their appreciation and thanks to you for the virtual convocation, that which allowed them to stay in their schools. And they said it was very well received and appreciated, and they look forward to maybe doing that again in the future. So thank you so very much.
Hint, hint. Thank you, Ms. Lovelace. And our next scheduled meeting is scheduled for September 19th, 2022, and we want to thank everyone's commitment to Gaston County Schools. We did not have a meeting in July. Steve Hall, July the 4th birthday, turned 60, and Jeff Ramsey, July the 8th, turned 50. So we're doing good. So I would like to turn it over to Kevin Collier for closed session.
Mr. Chair, if it please the board, I'd like to make a motion to go into closed session under North Carolina General Statute 143-38.11A6 for personnel, and under the same statute, paragraph A3 for consultation with attorney and any other legal matters.
Okay. Second, Mr. Davis, and all in favor? We're adjourned. open session, and I'd like to turn it over to Dr. Booker.
Mr. Chair, Vice Chair, members of the board, I'd like to make a recommendation of 2-year assistant principal contracts for Gina Hill, Andrew Howard, Deidre Johnson, Heather Parrish, Jamie Peterson, and Nicole Sparrow, and this confirms ratifies the motion that was given an authority back in June to the staff.
Make a motion that we accept these contracts.
Okay, I have a motion on the floor, I have a second. Mr. Dedman, all in favor? That's
Mr.
unanimous.
Chair, members of the board, I have an additional 1-year contract for Joe Burns.
Make a motion that we accept that 1-year contract.
As assistant principal, yes, ma'am.
Mr. Dedman, second, all in favor? That's unanimous.
I have no other personnel items tonight, sir.
Mr. Dedman.
I'm going to turn it back over to Kevin Collier.
You might be right.
Mr. Chair, it is my honor to make a motion to adjourn.
Second. Mr. Dedman, all in favor? You're adjourned.